Good evening. Welcome to Howling About Entertainment with Jake D. How are y'all doing this evening? It has been a good Sunday and weekend for me so far, and I am joined by Mythir Draco Argentus. How are you today, Draco?
Oh! I think I'm howling. Good place
by
to be
God.
that way.
This is the right place for that, by God. We will be joined by Lord Thoth and Latino Slant shortly. And about an hour in, our good buddy 32 Flavors at NickWeiser is going to be able to pop in and say hello. Everybody's trying to, quickly chow down their dinners for the evening. And by God, get with us. Keck 44, Max Rottenstein, welcome to the chat. Glad to see you guys here today. So it has been an interesting week so far, I think. Draco, wouldn't you say so?
Fairly interesting, considering we don't get to do too much to make our own interesting things. Or at least, yeah, there's been some news. We always have a little bit of news to talk about.
Yes, we do. We certainly do. And I am not one to bury the lead. So by God, while we're waiting for Lord Thoth and Polly to get with us, let's go straight into Boobgate. Yes, you heard that right, chat. Boobgate. I said it. Boob. My goodness. So for those of you who are not familiar, there is a thirsty influence peddler in the Twitterati, but goes by the name of Anita Sarkeesian. So Anita, she's got a very interesting history. Do you, Draco? Would you refresh everybody on? You were familiar with Anita's role over there with The Last of Us Part 2 at Naughty Dog,
amongst others. Oh, she was the reason, the whole reason to put this to tell the story this way, to have these strong examples of feminine characters who are proud and who are stunning, brave, and absolutely shit for characters, because you don't write characters like that. You don't write interesting characters like that. That's what you call platforming or signaling.
Yes, you do. Max Rottenstein. Yes, that's certainly been a little bit of the talk of the day, my friend. Oh my goodness. Anita. Yeah, she is. She's an interesting one. Man of War 665, neighbor of the beast. Welcome to the show, my friend. It's good to see you for the first time. So Anita Sarkeesian. So she caused a little bit of a dust up yesterday, man, and it
looking for outlets. Looking for outlets.
Yeah, I think so. She must have, started losing out on some paychecks with all the shutdowns that she's been advocating. So she's decided to bring up some issues with the Mandalorian, and she's very concerned, and she wants to know that we know that she's concerned about the Lady Mandalorian boob armor. So, as Draco reminded us, Anita has been one to. She'll call people up and she'll let them know, hey, that's a really nice video game company that you've got over there. It'd be a shame if somebody canceled it. And so Anita, she took issue with Lady Mandalorian boob armor, and called it out on her little loud blue check mark network here. And Anita has never had to wear a fiberglass drum harness that was not designed for girls. Yes, and Ginger, of course, being of the fairer sex, certainly knows a little bit about that, certainly more than you or I do, Draco. So, the big
knows firsthand. I cannot cop to that. Neither can you. Last time I checked, but I wasn't looking closely.
There was a time in my life where I did have something that you could probably call pecs, but certainly never breasts. But the big breast envy gate, yes, that certainly may be some of what's going on here. So you take a look. It's a still image from the latest episode of The Mandalorian, Chapter 11, the Heiress, and we of course have 3 new Mandalorians that have joined the show here. Front and center is Bo-Katan. On the left there is another female Mandalorian that was apparently played by Sasha Banks, although I didn't really catch that. I had to kind of get that called out to me later, but that was actually Sasha Banks, yes, who was apparently acting under her real name because I guess there's some kind of, she can't use Sasha Banks, something to do with the WWE. I don't know. But these ladies, they in their armor, they have a little bit, and it's not excessive. They've got a little bit of room to deal with the fact that they have female anatomy, which I mean, I grant you, I haven't experienced it myself, but I imagine that helps with armor comfort. What do you think, Draco?
Well, it's an idea that I had a little while ago as this discussion came up previously about maybe we need to just, okay, Sasha, here's this well, it's called a breastplate in historical context, much to her dismay, I'm sure. But
yes.
Here, how about you try on this breastplate? This would fit we'd assume this would fit a man of her dimensions, although that might actually require something, regardless of how like men and women are supposed to be, the way that she and most of her ilk think. But here, try on this breastplate. Oh, that doesn't seem to, it's rocking a bit. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe it needs to have a little give.
Yeah, and we got some, there were some interesting examples tweeted back to her and of armor that was designed for females. And you can see this particular piece had some room for the lady parts. This particular piece, look at that. These are all examples of real armor, because apparently Miss Sarkeesian's not particularly familiar with it. And, this shot from the Clone Wars here, if anything, they actually subdued the chest expansion in this armor. Again, examples of armor that is built for the female anatomy. Nothing particularly wrong with this. There was a pretty outstanding one a little bit further down here that I want to bring out to attention of folks. Again, a real, true, proper historical armor piece known as a breastplate that is built and designed for a lady. Oh goodness, there's some good ones in here. Oh, and just there's never been a cod piece in the history of armor here either. So
ever.
Yeah, armor is definitely intended to have something to do with who it's helping. So again, a historically accurate piece of armor for a lady here. There's a little bit of room for a lady's anatomy, and
basically make a shelf. You don't even have to do that much. You put some give in it, which I believe isn't that far from what they represented in the show. You give a little bit at the top. Here's this is classical armor given for feminine form, and it's going to the extreme.
Yes. Yeah. This is a little much, but again, this is a legit piece of historical armor. Femdalorians do not have access to ace bandages. So old Anita, though, I think what we've got going on here is there is a recognition that the Mandalorian is catching on, and it's building a fan base, and it's moving forward in a reasonably well liked, even by former Star Wars fans that were disillusioned by the Disney tragedy. And some of those people are beginning to come back because of what's happening in Mando. There's a lot that aren't, but they're trying to build that. And Anita couldn't have that.
Well, here you got the Mandalorian working on building all of this trust, and it's got a mountain of trust to build. So much effort has to be put in. That they're doing so much that that they're behaving gun shy because they're not taking this forward very far, very fast at all. But they are giving fans, especially some fans, they're giving some fans exactly what they want to see, and not trying to step on too many toes. But as the interest climbs, so does the need for the current social engineering climate control experts. I believe they go by a certain three-letter aphorism that we use to a detriment often.
Yeah.
But they got to come in. So, and
yes.
she has been a front runner of that in many different.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as she describes herself, she is working to end abuse in the video game industry. I guess there's abuse in the video game industry. But, to Commander Ed Straker's point, in the real world, for body armor to work correctly, it needs to be form-fitting to prevent armor gaps due to shifting and shock injuries. And that is all that I see here. There's nothing, ridiculously egregious in exaggerating the breasts. There's nothing about this armor that is in any way trying to be overly sexualized. It simply, when I looked at this, I simply saw Mandalorian armor that was designed for a woman. That's all I saw, and I didn't think twice about it. It's not like they've got something here that's like Valkyrie's armor. Even if you look at Thor Ragnarok, Tessa Thompson has got just these boing right out of her armor, and there's nothing like this going on here. But but Mando's starting to get a following, and so the SJWs are trying to come in. And of course, Anita is she's one of those blue check marks that just absolutely feels like she's got to tell us what we're doing wrong and why what we like is no good.
Yeah, well, I'm just not going to listen because she has become less and less relevant, and this is just another case of that.
Absolutely. And Man of War 665 says, believe me, when you get on the wrong side of 50, you take care in the area of the cod. Sitting on one's own juniper berries is no laughing matter. That's true, but I will laugh if you sit on your own juniper berries, Man of War. I'm not going to lie to you. As long as they're not mine, it's funny.
I believe it's required between guys.
If you didn't laugh if I injured my own berries, I would be very concerned about you, Draco.
Well, I would be going, what the hell you do, man? And then I'd be, yeah, no, I'm not laughing.
Let's see. Geek Tropology, who is one of our viewers from South America, wishes that we knew Spanish because Anita Tablita Callate la Boquita. I can pronounce it, but I only half know what it means. Oh gosh, if somebody in the chat can do a proper translation, I would not argue with you, by golly. Any of Anita's takes fall as flat as hers, so she overcompensates in re. Yes, Anita is definitely the king of the re. I know. What's your general take on her overall? So, Polly, and I've decided that Anita is the queen of the re. What do you think, my friend?
Someone said boobies, so I came onto the stream.
Well, I figured I had to get I needed a hook to get you in early tonight.
I'm so toxic. I'm a toxic male that likes boobies. Sorry, guys. Sorry, not sorry.
I'm not going to lie. I'm a fan myself, and I'm not going to apologize for that either.
Hell yeah. Hail.
Ugh.
Yeah, Greek topology basically said, I need to shut your little mouth up. Bam.
Okay, I thought that's roughly what it was. My Spanish. What I do speak, I speak reasonably well, but I have a very small vocabulary.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, all I got was mouth out of it, but I didn't want to think anything about her mouth, considering what normally comes out of it.
Well, and hail to you, sir.
Hail, sir. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. There was that talk in Discord. Someone was talking about making Italian food, and I was like, oh man, I just got hungry. So, excuse me, Jake. I had to eat before.
oh, by all means, I understand completely. Lord Thoth will be joining us shortly as well. He's also trying to shovel down dinner as quickly as possible. But
a little bit of that cannoli there.
What did Daddy Slant bring over the dinner again this week, Polly, or was it?
No. Papa Slant did not. I need to give him a call. This is a friend of ours. Her cafe, like she always has extra food, so she brought over a couple of like kind of those big like pints of soup. So I got me some corn chowder.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Oh man, Keck 44, I appreciate you stopping by, my friend. Yeah, let's take a minute to chat about that. So SpaceX is sending astronauts back into space, proper NASA astronauts now for the second time, and they are officially certified to do so when at any time, and that is freaking cool, man.
Absolutely.
It was neat to me because my kids are of an age that they don't even remember American spaceships taking Americans into space. They are 12 and just about 10 years old, and the shuttle's been retired basically their entire lives, certainly their entire lives that they can remember. So I made them sit down and watch that this summer, a few months back when SpaceX did that first launch, and that is cool stuff.
Extremely cool, especially from the point of view of Elon making it look all sleek and pretty.
Correction there, real quick. Greek topology, tablita. I was reading it so fast. So what's this lady's name? Anita
Sarkeesian.
Yes.
So
yeah.
So Anita Tablita. Okay. I mean,
man,
you know what I mean? Hey now.
Yeah, but old Anita. I mean, so Thoth, what are you thinking, man? Why is it that people like Anita have to insert themselves into issues like this? That I mean, to me, it's it's a non-controversy, right? I mean, there's nothing here, but they're trying to stir the shit up.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Great to see you, Draco, Polly, and Jake D. Absolutely. Hail to the chat and the mods out there. Thank you very much for your service.
Hola, Lord.
I will say that from a soldier's perspective and law enforcement, women that serve their countries in all facets of first responders, law enforcement, military, whatever, they don't have special armor or special items, except for when they require something for obvious anatomy reasons. But they wear the same kind of gear as the men do. Just obviously, there's going to be different sizes and different things, especially for the ceramic inserts that go into bulletproof vests and bulletproof armor, where it has to be specifically tailored to your form. But I think that it's a non-item, honestly. I think that this is just to make herself seem relevant. Maybe she's particularly targeting a certain audience. I like the fact that we see this as a TV show, and that's what it is. It's science fiction. It's fun. It's like nipples on the bat suit or whatever you want to talk about, right? It's like, why? That's the question I ask. And I also love the fact that, you're looking at some Mandalorians here. Of course, the armor is going to be slimmer for the ladies, depending. I mean, Cara Dune, man, I bet you she could rock the Mandalorian armor all on her own because she is built. She is a real woman. And so Katie Sackhoff is a little slimmer, as well as her partner, of course, and the Mandalorians there for that episode. And I just think that it's a non-issue. We're having fun. We wanted to identify the characters. We want to know who's Bo-Katan and who's who, right? And that was the point, I think. And it's just like comic books. Comic books are comic books. I mean, as a Scottish man of Scottish descent there, we wear kilts. And if you're a true Scotsman, you wear your kilt regimental. So
yes.
So that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that. Absolutely. It's just a matter of perspective, right?
Yeah. And then, since you brought it up, I just had to bring up the nipples on the bat suit here, of course.
Joel Shoemaker, yeah.
It's like, oh, God.
He must have had big nipples to require that for his outfit to add a little extra room there, I guess.
It's cold in Gotham City at night, I guess. I don't know.
As much as we make fun of it, that just makes me think back to that bronze armor piece that you showed from the listing from the Twitter pages.
Yeah, I mean, that had it had every feature on it. I'm not sure what to say other than that. But yeah, Alexander Vidakovich, it is the way of their ideology. They have to virtue signal their value that is more sophisticated than the rest of the world, so as to be able to assume the role of Ubermensch. And yes, I don't think Alexander is far off here. And he's right. It's really just a new type of fascism. And, Mary said, had they strapped down the boobs, they would have argued that they were denying their sexuality. It wasn't overdone, and she didn't find the outfits overtly sexy. And I'm with you 100% on that, Mary. And you're exactly right, because let's think back to late 80s Madonna, right? When it was the thing to celebrate the sexuality. And that woman had like road cones on over her chest, right? And it was celebrated. I always thought that was weird.
Well, when you're in a combat situation,
Road cones.
that you don't want any distinction between who's who. You want to be in and out. You want to do your job, and that's it. And if you're in a combat situation, to identify yourself as a woman, especially in specific areas in the world, you certainly don't want that to happen. You don't want to become a target. You want to be uniform. You want to be just like everybody else, unless you're in a cartoon or a comic book or a science fiction show. So there are differences in uniform. Absolutely, there would be. But they're very much so they can be form-fitting, so they can be comfortable for men and women. That's all.
Yep. I mean, any...
Go ahead.
I was just saying, any full body armor, I expect there to be differences based on the gender. I mean, the reality is, if you're trying to fully armor somebody, you're going to need a little extra room in the crotch for the guys, and you're going to need a little bit of extra room in the chest for the ladies. It just is what it is. There's nothing wrong with that.
But there's also one thing else that I want to bring up from that.
Well, before you do,
Lord Thoth.
Before you do, Lord and Draco, let's review really quick. Boobs, road cones, crotch. What else was?
Gotta wear the cup, man. Gotta wear the cup.
Cup, crotch, boobs, chichis.
Is that the Mexican word of the day, Paulie?
Oh man, I got a word for you. But seriously, folks, boobs. Boobies.
That's the word of the day.
Tatas, fun bags, square pillows.
Fun bags. Oh, God, so many memories.
Jesus. Oh, sorry, Father Christopher Miller, if you're listening.
Bazookas.
I took the Lord's name in vain there. I apologize.
Father,
oh, man.
Be listening eventually. Yes, we have to take care with
I just
our
wanted
thoughts and our words.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to review the first 10 minutes of the show. Okay.
Well, now that we've had our recap, so Draco, you were saying.
Yeah.
Well, I was referring to Lord Thoth bringing up several previous examples, and one of the things he brought up was comics and cartoons and other things like that. Well, Bo-Katan is not a new character.
Nope.
This is a character specifically brought in from the Filoniverse. This is a character brought in not only from Clone Wars, but from Rebels as well.
Yes.
And I just want to bring up this same armor was used by her previously. But this is another point to that it's not important enough to talk about until this actually gets into a live action feature. She could have talked about it before, but no, it wasn't important enough. She could have talked about it when this was a prior thing. She could have talked about it for years now. But no, we're going to talk about it now, which is kind of like, you know what, Anita, you're a little late. Your point of commentary is lost just because it's got translated into a live action. This stuff is based on material that you could have spoken to when you were relevant.
Yes, absolutely.
And when she was relevant is a long time ago. So go away, Anita. Thank you. Goodbye.
And, you know, something that I want to point out is a lady who Anita, I promise you, is very fond of. So this is Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie in Thor Ragnarok. Anybody notice something about this armor?
Yeah,
Skin tight.
Yeah. Yes.
There's not much armor to that, honestly. That's like a leather jerkin that is skin tight that just form fits, which is fine if you're a female Valkyrie. If you're a Norse warrior in the old tradition, if you want to stay traditional, they didn't wear armor. They just wore whatever was comfortable because they wanted to move fast and quick, and that's why shield maidens were so deadly. So yeah, absolutely.
But you know, I mean,
I'm on mute.
If you
look up the Aztec female warriors, they all wore feathers around, just because of what Lord said was that they had to move fast, and they had the top shoulder armor, but they moved fast.
Same as Amazon warriors too, right? I mean, some of them cut one of their breasts off, and they amputated that so that they could fire a bow better, so that they could. Yeah, it's all a matter. You go in a historical perspective, absolutely. But if you're going into a comic book and they're wearing heavy armor, honestly, you wouldn't want to distinguish who you were because everybody is equal. By that, if you're looking at a future society, men and women are equal. They're both. Everybody has their strengths and weakness in a battle. If you're a good swordsman or you're a good rifle sniper, if you're a good pilot, if you're a good martial artist or hand to hand, like everybody has their strengths and weakness, so they're going to want to have the same kind of armor and gear that matches that strength, unless you're in a society that is everybody is the exact same, which to me it doesn't allow for that uniqueness of the battlefield. If you're going to have soldiers who are unique, then match that uniqueness to their armor.
Can I say something?
Anita's army, she wants all the same units.
Yeah. So what are you thinking, Paulie?
She doesn't want it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh no. So I think what we forget a lot in fandom is that this is entertainment, right? And or a lot of I guess not even fandom, but just critics, they've got nothing better to do, like you said with this person. Is it pleasing? Does it look great in the art direction? I thought they looked amazing, man. When they came on,
here.
God, it was beautiful. I was like, wow, badass.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
I didn't even think. The way. In all seriousness, there was nothing pointing to their chest. It was just action.
Exactly.
All three of those Mandalorians, were awesome. All three were good looking. All three were soldiers. All three kicked butt. You know, I wanted them to kick Mando in the butt there to get him going until the end. Like, dude, like jump in there, like shoot some stormtroopers, hoo-ah. But
that
I think
speaks to the
that
bigger problem of the show, though.
yeah. Well, let's not discuss the writing yet. I guess we're going to probably talk about that. But I think you're absolutely right, Polly. They looked freaking awesome, just like the cartoon.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've seen side by sides of shots of the cartoon and Katie Sackhoff in this episode, and it's a near perfect translation. As good as you can do.
But then you have some people. I've been watching some of the chats complaining that Sackhoff is too young. It's like, dude, it's Katie Sackhoff. It's a great actor who, I mean, again, that role requires a lot of physicality, acting chops. Who are you going to get? I mean, it really narrows down these actors, because these actors have to be martial artists, gymnasts, whatever, And it's like, okay, well, I'm sorry that she's not the right exact age, Star Wars historian, but it's like, this is a great choice. We got someone awesome.
Well, not only that, but the character herself in the animation was visually based off Katie Sackhoff specifically, and Sackhoff was the voice through both animation series. So she's always been Bo-Katan from start to finish.
Yeah. Well, we discussed. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
That's all. I was just going to reinforce your point. She is an excellent actor. Is there any reason other than for some signaling effort to say that a really good actor cannot play a 10 or 20-year-old version of herself? Why can she not act? Why can she not be that? I mean, that's the idea that she is the perfect person to play this role. She could be the perfect person to play this role unless it was a 13-year-old child and younger, because she's just too big. You just have to apply makeup, and she has to act her role. She has to act her age. Why can she not play this unless you're making an issue out of something that is no issue? Go on. Well,
and not only that, but we do know that Mandalorians, as compared to many of the other races throughout the Star Wars universe, are highly respected and strong warriors, and there's no reason to assume that they wouldn't age gracefully. I mean,
my male gaze with no corrective lenses, it's working just fine. Thank you very much.
Well, there may be no old Mandalorians for an obvious reason. If they're a warrior culture, they could live to be 200 years old, and yet most of them don't get to 50. Like Katie Sackhoff herself is 40 years old. Like, she's born in 80, right? So she's not young and she's not old. She's that sweet spot in age, right? So where she can still do those physical stunts, and she can still look like she's a little bit more matriarchal, to coin the term.
She's got a good balance of a lot, right? Like, she should have been Captain Marvel.
Yes. Oh,
can you imagine?
Man.
Yes.
I just saw Avengers the other day again, and I was like, man, she really sucked. God.
Yeah, she did.
This is so flat and boring, but and I meant flat, like, as far as
I know what you meant.
I meant flat as far as her personality.
She was wooden. She was wooden.
Sorry, piss people off here.
Wooden boobs would have served the same purpose.
Indeed. But yeah, no, Katie would have been a much better Captain Marvel. She's a dynamic actress, and she can do all the physical things that are necessary. And for being 40 years old, you could easily pass her off as being in her late 20s with the right makeup and the way that you presented her. Easy. You could also present her as 55 if you did it right. She's in a great butter zone. She still looks young enough that you could have her play a younger role, and you can easily age her up even through just makeup and dress and demeanor.
I mean, that's technically the thing, because we're talking about she was around in the time of the Clone Wars, which was, we're talking like a spread of, I want to say, 25 to 35 years. So that being her younger self. In Rebels, she's a little bit, just a little bit, like she's got that 20-year older. Now she's a little bit older than that. So
Yeah, like mid-40s or something.
not that far off from where she is.
Yeah.
Yes. What's the problem?
How realistic? It's
Hey,
not so
Eric
hard,
K?
is it?
Eric K with the last video about chocolate, wasn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Every time the
love that
cameraman
video.
gave her that Canadian chocolate, and she's like, "Oh, this is good." And I'm like, "Yeah, Katie, it is. Canada does it better."
It's you're welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Your weekly dose of O Canada from Lord Thoth
and Eric K.
All right, man. So let's,
But,
final thoughts on Boobgate before we move on. What do you think, Draco?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for coming out.
How about you, Paulie?
2 words: Rosario Dawson.
She's coming.
Oh boy.
She's coming.
I've seen her in a movie that will remain nameless, and oh my goodness, she is gorgeous. Let me tell you, and that requires a lot of work.
Okay.
I'm just curious how they're gonna get around them.
How do I follow that?
My goodness. All right. So let's get talking about the episode itself, though. So I dropped my review Friday morning. It definitely that one was full of spoilers. This discussion is going to be full of spoilers. I'm just, by Sunday evening, I'm not in the least bit terribly worried about it. So we're going to go full in depth. First, just kind of initial reactions and ratings to the episode. I came in at this one as a 7 out of 10, which I think is one of the lower ratings among people who reviewed this episode. I'll get into my whys later, but that's where I fell in. Overall, it was a good episode. There were a couple pieces of intersectionality that held it back for me. Where'd you come in on this one, Thaw?
I have to make sure I unmute my mic here. So I've watched it twice now. I watched it the first time, and I really enjoyed it. Best episode this season was my first response. So whenever I know I'm going to be talking about an episode, I watch it again. And I think that so I've rated the first couple under 7 so far. I think I rated the first one 7, the second one like 6.5. This one I'd give it a 7.5 from the second watching. My first watching was an 8.5. So I love the Imperial stuff. I love seeing them back in the dress uniforms again. I love seeing the shuttle commander, the frigate commander there. He was great. We've seen him in lots of stuff. He does a lot of great bit parts yes, thank you. I was trying to remember his name and I couldn't.
Yeah, he's got that show Bosch on Amazon, right? Is it the same guy?
That's the guy.
Yeah, that's the guy. I loved seeing our little Moff there in the shadows on the hologram, the holo monitor. I couldn't say it, I guess. But I like seeing him say "Long live the Empire." So now we have a little bit more behind his reasons for doing all of this stuff, that he's all about the Empire. He's not about himself. He's not trying to be a warlord. He's trying to maintain the strength and integrity of the Empire, which is cool. I liked that part. And so the whole shuttle part where the Mandalorians are trying to take over the ship, that the Mandalorian kicks some butt. I didn't like him hesitating at the end, but I know we're going to get into a lot of the other stuff too, but that really sold it for me. We got to see the Mandalorians, real Mandalorians, kick some butt. We got to see him go, "What is the watch?" kind of thing, because he thought he was just a Mandalorian. So obviously he's going to be a little bit puzzled and concerned and wondering what they're doing there. So I get the hesitation at first. So the story and direction was a little weak, I think. But that's what kind of drops me down to a 7.5, because there was a lot of stuff too that I know you're going to talk about, so I won't talk about the Well, anyway, but I think that it was the best episode this season, and probably in the top 3 of the series, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Absolutely. Draco, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking it definitely was one of the best episodes that I've seen all the way through. To be fair, that the intersectionality moment, I've actually, because I was so dissatisfied with it, I do what I normally have done in the past with these movies. I've got a better written version of it, but the thing is that doesn't make it any better. Actually, what we see on the screen, and that's all we've got to work with. So you see him bettered by these Quarren pirates. He jumps in. You think he might actually do something, and then it's all for naught. And all it does is weaken him. So you get the Mansell moment.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's typically slow for the 3rd episode in an 8-episode season. It finally gets some meat because we find out some information in this season. We finally see some things going and some things happening, and we get this idea of what the Children of the Watch are and why is that important and how is that going to affect him and what has been being done to him. But beyond that, I said I would have started out as a 7, but I really want to see more. And it's almost like I want to give this a 6.5, but I'm hitting it harshly because I'm not expecting much out of this, and I'm becoming less and less interested. It wasn't until the very end where you found out several of those things, where you found out about Moff Gideon.
Sure.
And he might. I mean, I'm still open with Moff Gideon. Maybe he is fully on for the Empire. Maybe that's how he's drumming up the support from his men, because he is appearing to be fully for the Empire. But it might be that simple because this is still a Disney show. But
yeah.
Fair enough. How about you, Paulie? Initial reactions and rating?
Yeah, that was all right. You know, there was
Succinct to the point.
I mean, you know, the show's got so many problems, so it's just like, you know,
Yeah.
it was. There were some good moments. There were some head scratching moments, and of course, it was really short.
Yep.
You know, his whole backstory, everything about him is just very confusing. Like, he doesn't even know who he is.
Yeah.
Or, you know, for someone that's so like hardcore into like, you know, showing his mask and stuff, it's like he's got to know about other Mandalorians and how other Mandalorian tribes, especially Bo-Katan's family. You know, come on. I mean, has this guy been under a rock the whole time? No, he's a bounty hunter across the universe. He's gonna know about a lot of stuff.
He certainly acted as if he had no clue about how other sects of Mandalorians operated, though, wouldn't you say?
Them, the Jedi. I mean,
how can this guy know more about Sand People and the Tusken Raiders than he does about his own people?
Well,
very selective.
It's a fair question to ask, and I mean, I would tell you my own reaction and answer to that question is that, and they've told us this consistently over and over, that the Mandalorians keep out of sight for the most part. And when he was talking about his own covert from the Watch, you know, only one of them emerges at a time to go out and do stuff. And so, and we certainly know that Mandalorians have been scattered around the galaxy. So, I mean, this is a big ass galaxy. So I don't think it strains credulity all that much that it's not that common to run into a Mando.
But he's not a hermit within his own little planet. He's
True.
That's what I'm saying, is that he's a bounty hunter who's well traveled.
We think.
Well,
Right.
no, I mean, it's not. It's a fact. I mean, he's a bounty hunter, works for the bounty whatever collective, whatever.
Bounty
I
Hunters
mean,
Guild? Yeah.
unless he's like this is his first job.
But yeah, I mean,
So
it's,
again, I'm just confused. Like,
Well, we did learn in the first season that he was relatively junior because he was fighting to get his insignia. He was fighting to get his recognition among the Watch. Now that we know who they are, that segment of the Mandalorians, the Watch. So maybe he is really junior, but that kind of doesn't make sense,
that's a
does it?
junior Mandalorian, not a junior bounty hunter.
Yeah. Good point.
that's fair. Yep.
So,
Not
again,
all
so
these
when they
things add up.
when-
Sorry, Paul.
but-
You continue.
no, when Bo-Katan brought it up, it's like, why does he know more shit about his culture if he's so hardcore in his culture?
Yeah.
And if you didn't, you're gonna tunnel back and want to find stuff out. But then there's the whole Baby Yoda thing, just really, really weighs him down.
The child,
Yeah.
you mean? The child?
Whatever.
We can call
You
it
mean-
Baby
you
Yoda
mean-
the child.
You mean the little egg eating shit?
The little family event that happened too in this episode, where he was with the two frog people and they were playing with the newborn and stuff, and he's like, ooh, ooh, and I'm like, oh my god, couldn't we just cut that out and put some action in?
I don't, the Baby Yoda eating gags in this episode hit a lot better for me. I actually laughed at every single one of them this time, very genuinely.
The fact that he got eaten by the big
Face hugger squid.
and then at the end he ate the one that had climbed into the Razor Crest. I thought that was hysterical. I cracked up when I saw that.
he is ravenous.
Yeah, and to Geek
Wrong
Tropology's point, the Death Watch was like the extreme jihadists. So, and that's how I see him as well. So I don't think it's that crazy that they didn't educate him on how other sects operated. I mean, maybe
That would be his preparation, wouldn't it? He'd be able to fight. He'd be trained as a Mandalorian, but then he'd need some kind of basic understanding to go out there and to do his job. And he would have expanded on it as he worked as a bounty hunter. Even if he was fresh, he had to have some sort of basis to start with. You'd think you don't just take up with a guild unless you apprenticed or something like that.
Mhm.
Years working at it, figuring out a few things, finding out a few things, going out and learning a few base skills.
Yeah. I think something else that we got in this episode that was pretty good for me is I think they built the basis about how to get to the point where Pedro gets to take the helmet off. I think we saw we saw the groundwork laid for that in this week's episode, and I think that I've heard some talking back and forth, and I think we've got a good picture of how this season's going to conclude now, even though we've only finished the first 3 of 8 episodes. Listening to a bunch of other people, I've got my thoughts about where it's going. And I'm thinking what they're doing is they may be setting it up for Din Djarin, our Mando, to break away from the Watch people that he was raised by. And he's probably going to end the season on his own. The child's going to be handed off to Ahsoka, whom we're probably not going to see until the end of episode 5, is my guess. And they're going to have to build up to some kind of big battle to help Bo-Katan try to take the Darksaber from Moff Gideon. And that's going to be like the culmination of the season. That's my guess. That's where I think we're headed.
Well, there's a couple things that we're headed for in the season that we know of for sure. Carl Weathers is directing the next episode, so look for Apollo Creed to be resurrected. No, it's playing. George Lucas is credited for co-writing a future episode, and Robert Rodriguez has directed an episode as well. So, I'm kind of excited about all that.
I'm looking
It's
forward
for
to that
that
Robert
Robert
Rodriguez.
I guess both of us, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love Rodriguez.
Excellent work from that director. I love seeing everything he's done.
Yeah, I just hopefully we'll get Gina on the next episode.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be. I'm not expecting to see that, despite Carl Weathers directing, Polly, and the reason being because we know that Gina and Carl are still on Navarro, and that's not even remotely where he's headed. I mean, unless he goes there to repair the ship or get a new ship.
I'm gonna look it up.
So I don't know. What are you thinking on what we're going to see moving forward through the rest of the season, Thoth?
I think you're probably spot on in a couple of those things. I think we already know that there's going to be a change in direction because of everything that's happened behind the scenes, and that's cool. I'm thinking we're going to see that dark cloaked figure from this episode, probably, if not next episode, the next episode after that. It could be a Jedi, as was mentioned in the chat. It could be something else too. I can't really say whether or not we're going to have Carl Weathers direct and act in an episode. I think it's a great opportunity for him to do some directing, and hopefully he can bring some discipline to some of the laziness that I've seen in the directing so far this season. I think that we will. I'm hoping we see Bo-Katan again. The only concern I have is that there seems to be a lot of things that have been dropped in the last 3 episodes. Are we going to meet up with everything in the 5 episodes that are left? It's just short episodes, not much pushing the plot forward to the point where we can do this in 8 episodes. It's going to be pretty coming fast, coming hard in the next few episodes. So I'm thinking that the culmination of this season will be maybe episodes 7 and 8. We're going to see a confrontation with the Empire. We could see Bo-Katan. We could see the Bounty Hunters Guild, some more Mandalorians from the Watch, and maybe from Bo-Katan's group to come together. And then they're going to do this big Imperial assault where they're going to try to get the Darksaber back. I'm hoping they're not just going to drop the mention of the Darksaber and drop the Moff Gideon being in this episode and then not really fulfill that, because that's where I see them going. Yeah,
and you could even loop in the rebels that didn't kill Mando from episode 2, because if it's an assault on Gideon and the Empire, I mean, bringing in those guys from the New Republic makes a lot of sense too.
I've got some answers. I got some.
Oh, this comes from chapter 12.
Yeah, bro.
I've been avoiding the spoilers.
This isn't a spoiler.
These are images and chapter 12.
There's the TIE fighters. Yeah.
Okay, so look right there. The Mandalorian rejoins old allies for a new mission.
They're back. Good stuff. Is that the one that he's
Carl Weathers.
directing? Carl Weathers is directing? Perfect. Yeah.
Good.
All right, so Gina. So now.
So we finally get some Gina in the Gina Carano show?
Yeah, you want to.
All right.
She looks intense.
Is that the blue guy that he caught in the very first episode of the show?
I don't know.
Is it?
I don't know.
Oh, could be.
The very first bounty?
Well,
I don't know.
This is Carl Weathers and Gina driving, so I don't see.
Yeah, we got that blue guy in the middle.
That's probably their craft.
Okay, yeah, and we've seen this from the trailer.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
Advertising. There you go.
Got some ties.
Cool. Ooh.
Yeah, that's neat.
All right.
So I guess that's when they're greeting.
Yeah, is it just me or does Carl look a lot older this season than he did last season? A lot more gray in his beard.
Yeah, he's stopped coloring it, must be.
And not that there's anything wrong with that. It was noticeable to me, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. But there you go.
All right. Well, I guess that proves my guess for next episode wrong. I didn't think that was coming until maybe episode 6 or so.
I guess maybe all of our comments about how they're not pushing the plot forward, I think they were just laughing at us because really what's happened in this episode and then what's happening next week is, bam, we're going to hit you with a whole bunch of stuff that's going to push the plot forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think that second episode, there's going to be some things in the plot there that's going to come into fruition later on this season too.
Yeah, I mean, if they loop it back in, so there's some kind of assault on Gideon, and they bring the Republic guys in with them,
yep.
Then suddenly it becomes not filler, and it was a piece that we just didn't recognize at the time.
Yeah, because obviously, what he did back in the prison, and not killing and making sure that Republic soldier didn't die, and making sure that the guys that he came with, other bounty hunters too, were captured. I'm sure that the New Republic really appreciates that, so they're going to pay that forward, and not just in what happened in the second episode, but maybe he can call on them now, and maybe they'll save his bacon in a bad situation, or I don't know. We'll have to see. It's certainly a really cool story. I like the story. I know that it's got its ups and downs, but I think that they're really, really trying hard to bring all us diehard fans back to the fold.
There was a member berry in Chapter 11 that I thought was done really well. And the crane that fished the Razor Crest out of the ocean, that was
cool.
It was on top of an AT-AT.
Yeah. That I love.
That was good.
That was really cool.
I owned the AT-AT when I was a kid, growing up. That was one of my prized toys. It's not in really good shape now, but that was awesome. I love that.
Yeah. Those of us who've been around for ages, we all saw it, but it wasn't like some of the more in your face stuff, like calling everybody a womp rat, and things like that, like they've been doing. That was a subtle touch, and it was good.
I like that the frog lady is getting like second billing right behind Mandalorian.
Vigilante Williamson, how are you, sir? Glad to see you join us. I was actually just about to bring you up. I even grabbed a link to your channel that I'm going to drop in the chat here. So we were in a member chat earlier, and Vigilante Williamson actually brought this up, that part of what we may be seeing in Mando's arc here is that he's going to figure out that he keeps getting used, including by the Watch. And that's going to be sort of the route to him in season 3, not having to wear the helmet all the time. He's going to break away from him because he's going to realize that he was even a tool of those people. And that thought really crystallized based on something Vigilante Williamson was saying earlier. So I wanted to make sure to give full credit to him, because to me, that was largely his idea. And if you haven't subbed to his channel, by God, check it out.
Vigilante.
Yeah, this episode with Star Wars is better. I still think they have a lot of ways to grow. I think that we're going to see that in the next couple episodes. I imagine that they've concentrated on a lot of the big plot points for the next few episodes to get to the climax of the season, and the first episode was good. We got to see Timothy Oliphant. We got to get a little tease for Boba Fett. We got to see some really cool action, and that was good. The second episode was a little slower, but I think a lot of the jokes kind of fell flat, but I still think it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad episode, and then this one kicked it up a little bit and started pushing stuff forward.
Look at Ace Mr. Freeze throwing shade.
Hey, I know, man. He thinks we're writing it for him, and it won't go the way we want.
I think you assume too much, or at least you definitely assume too much of me. I'm keeping my I already mentioned I'm keeping my idea about that, how they should have written his little Mansell moment. It could have been written better, but I ain't telling you.
God.
Yeah.
Right, Draco, I ain't telling you.
Yeah, I mean, bringing up the Mansell moment, Draco, I'm glad that you circled around to that, because that was the big kind of it dropped for me on this episode in terms of its value and its quality. So, he gets tossed into the tank with that sea monster.
He doesn't get tossed.
Right. Well,
he jumps. Yeah,
baby Yoda gets tossed in.
He gets kicked in. Yeah.
Because technically, he jumps in. He's got to go after saving the baby. He jumps in and he does nothing.
Yeah, pure instinct, and you get in there and you realize, oh, I'm wearing armor and I'm wearing weapons, and I'm obviously we found out something important about the armor too, though, that it's not airproof, right? So that he can't just jump into the water and then be able to breathe.
Oh, I never assumed that much based on all the Mandalorian armor to date.
That's right. I didn't either. I thought, oh, he's jumping in the water because he knows that he can get down to the inside the water. He can breathe. Then he can kill the monster and rescue the child, not come up and go, save the child, save the child.
Yeah. I mean, the Mansell moment was bad for me. And hey, joining us again, 32 Flavors of NickWeiser.
How you doing?
Hail, Nick.
Hey, Flavor Flav. Good to see you, brother.
It's like the Red Hot Chili Peppers version of Flavor Flav.
Oh my God, that is perfect. That was awesome. Yeah.
Is he Fleva Flav?
He's the Anthony Kiedis Flav.
Good to see you.
Good to see all you spry young gentlemen around here.
Nick, welcome back. Welcome back. So Nick was unable to join us last week because the guy figured he needed to go to his daughter's birthday party instead of being here on Howling about entertainment, man. I don't know what he was thinking, but
that's rare in Hollywood, a good father moment.
Listen, that was going to be my point. Is there's two positives here. Oh, he's following his an edict from his tribe.
Yes.
So that's number one. He's ride or die with that child. So I didn't see the Mansell so much. But if y'all are hitting that whole male female Mansell, he is kind of this odd father figure who's like protecting his adopted kid. I don't know. I didn't really have a problem with any of that.
Yeah. It wasn't the jumping in to save the child. That's not what bothered me. What bothered me is he jumped in and then he didn't do shit.
Yeah,
right.
That was the part
about this. He jumped in. He's doing the heroic thing. He's being the dad, the mother, whatever you want to call him. He jumps in right after to save the child, and essentially you'd think the Quarren were expecting that. They toss the child in there. The child's under threat. He goes in after it, and then they trap him with the cage. Now, he's got weapons at his disposal. You don't see it. Well, I'm going to start explaining my better idea to Ace Mr. Freeze here. But the thing is, you don't see any of that stuff. You don't see any of the possibilities. You don't see any of the things that he could have been doing. Why didn't he do anything about it? And then, well, they're poking at him and they're stabbing at him with sticks in his armor, which is, of course, a threat if they can manage to get in between the armor. But the thing is that they keep him down. And to your point, Paulie, once he gets out, he's going to have sucked up too much water. He's probably going to be weak because he hasn't been taking in enough oxygen. So he's going to be weak, but he's kind of soft on the side there. He isn't trying to climb back in. They're not trying to force him to sit down. He just kind of like save the child, and he lies back down, and he is, why aren't you fighting anymore? Why aren't you even trying? I'm a little bit, I'm lost in translation with the acting.
I gotta
And
see
this
it.
might have been direct. This might have been directorial too, because this is another issue with. Do I believe the direction Bryce Dallas Howard did this one? I think she did better with this episode than she did with her previous Mandalorian
Without a
episode.
doubt.
But
This was much
This
better
is
than
only
her
an
season 1 episode. I agree.
this is only an improvement. It's not necessarily she's not firing on all cylinders. In my
No, I
opinion.
disagree. That I disagree with. I mean, compared to that episode from last season, shoot.
Well,
she's
it's a
like
significant
Scorsese.
improvement.
Way better.
It's a significant improvement, and I'm definitely not going to deny that. This was actually well done.
Well, is it improved, or you just said she's not firing all cylinders?
She's not
That's-
firing on all cylinders. You're not doing the full
What do you
job.
What do you
yet.
want her to be, Scorsese? Come on.
But those are not mutually
want her to
exclusive
consider-
statements, Paulie. You
I want her to
can
consider
be
every
light years
character.
better and not be 100% yet.
Listen,
No,
part of me
I
is giving the
I
Lord
agree with
shit, though.
Vigilante. I agree with Vigilante. Like, if you're a father in that moment, your instincts are dive. You go into the water, man. Boom. And so I
Agreed.
get that.
I've done
I
it.
get that.
Mhm.
But it's what happened after he jumps into water. It's the panic.
Yes.
Well, is he a Mandalorian who's a soldier who's been in a life and death situation 100 times? So why does he like comes up for air and he's like, oh, and then they're like trying to stab him, and then so you realize that they're gonna sooner or later they're gonna get through your armor into the weak spots of your armor. So you've got to start thinking tactically. So where's your weapons? The kid is in the monster. I got to deal with that. So there's several things you got to deal with right off the bat. So what's the immediate threat? What is the immediate problem? You break out your blasters, you start shooting corns, and then you get in and you take a breath and you go under and you try to take out the creature. So
Yes.
he kept coming up for air. Like once I see him get in the air, looking at the corns and saying, okay, I need to take a deep breath here. I need to get the child because that's my immediate problem. And they can't reach me in the water with their spears if I'm dealing with the creature. Then I can try to get him out and go up and then start shooting corns from the water, right? So, I mean, there's a different way we could take this. He could have been panicking.
Better show.
Right. Well, he was. So we have to take into consideration if the director is thinking, well, he's panicking, but it's not taken into consideration his years of experience.
Yeah, I mean,
Not to mention that should be in the writing too.
yeah. So I don't know. What are you thinking, Nick? You haven't had a chance to butt in. What was your thought of that scene on the barge, and Mando not doing much to help himself and the child?
I'm glad you asked about that scene because on my review, that's like the one thing where I'm like, man, that's the one part I didn't touch that I wish that I touched. So now here we go. Really conflicting with, not even conflicted. No. Backtrack that comment. That scene just didn't make sense it made sense for him to just dive in the water, but also he's coming right back up. I'm like, what are you doing? And that's where, once again, it falls a little short. Like I said, I enjoyed this episode. It was good. Does it fall short of greatness in my opinion? I'd say, yeah, it does. But it did make sense for him to just come right back up without accomplishing anything. And all of a sudden he's got the corns and I'm just like, bro, you got the child still like in the little pod thing, and like I get that the thing's in a pod, but we don't know how fast or long it takes for that creature to digest. And maybe I'm being picky about the digestion and all that. It's just we don't know. And that scene definitely could have been done a little better. Like, was the action that followed awesome? Hell yeah. But, bro, just the leading up to it's just like,
Yeah. And, so that one was a little rough for me. And then the middle part of the episode I thought was pretty good overall. I didn't think it was particularly too Deus Ex Machina that they showed up when the Quarren were surrounding him and the child. And that, because they were tracking him. They wanted to talk to the guy again. So that didn't bother me that they showed up there. And he's getting surrounded. He's holding the baby. And the thing is, like, he's been in that exact situation before. And he's fucked them up when they went after him. I mean, just think back to just chapter 9, the first episode of this season when they're in the fighting pit. right? He had practically the same problem there, and he didn't panic, he didn't hesitate, he didn't do anything. And in this episode, he hesitates. The other Mandos drop. They take out pretty much everyone. Din Djarin fires off like one shot. That just didn't feel like the Mando that we've come to know so far, to me.
Not at all. Like, especially like when you watch him from season 1 to season 2, it's like his IQ just like, became less than my shoe size. And it's just like, bro, where'd your experience go, man? You're all slick and cool and like badass looking that first episode of the first season. All of a sudden I'm like, man, I could accomplish more than this guy now. I mean, I know that's literally not true, but it's just like, it feels like it. It feels like it compared to what is going now with season 2. It's just like, it's like he lost his intelligence, though he has more experience. Those two contradict each other greatly.
Yeah.
I mean, I until you guys started saying these things, since yesterday, I really didn't agree at all. I don't think I really still do agree. He was reluctantly on a mission he didn't want to do with these other people, with Boca, and it kept changing. So it really wasn't his mission. It wasn't him to be the lead.
That's true.
And it kept changing within the moment, right? So that's a big thing right there. So I didn't see women's wokeness there.
I didn't either. I didn't see wokeness there either. That was their mission. He wanted info, and they lived up to their deal. They had said no deal. We're the women in charge. I was like, oh, bro, here we go.
Right.
But,
and he's not totally sold on them either, because they're kind of like punks to him, right? Like, y'all ain't real. You aren't part of my tribe, but all right, I can still help you. So I saw that first. Then when there was some trust, homie went balls out and just that was badass, man.
That was the best part of it. Once he
that's a build up. So I don't know where you guys are coming from with all this stuff.
I think the point that Mary is trying to make there, and I understand the situation where he's in the water and then boom, the Mandalorians arrive and save him. And so that was Bo-Katan and her troop, right? And so he seemed to be panicking, and which is ridiculous for a soldier with that much experience would ever go through. Like, you deal with the situation, you take the bullet, you take the wounds, but you finish the mission. That's the whole point, right? But having him be rescued by Bo-Katan and her troop when they'd landed and they killed all the Quarrens except for that one, as Jake D said, I think that's a little bit on the nose. That's, I think, where they're getting to. Do I agree or disagree? I kind of agree, actually, because I get it. I think that if they had written it different, where he was under the water once, he comes up for air, they're stabbing him. Now he knows that the grill is on the top, right? They lowered the cage. He's like, oh crap, now what do I do? Then he deals with it, except he comes up, 3 times, I think, out of the air, and they keep stabbing at him. Like, by the first time, you know that, okay, I have to go to an alternate tactic. I have to do something different to fix this, because I don't know that someone's coming to rescue me. So instead of giving up,
I would agree with you more if we didn't know who Bo-Katan and her people were. It's been established what a warrior she is, how amazing they are. I mean, over and over again, we've seen them in battles. So I didn't see that. I mean, it is a Disney TV show, so there are going to be people that save the day. But Mando is a little too trusting.
I want to read Vigilante Williamson's comment here, because I think it's a fair one. And he says, Mando's shown competence gaps the whole series. He got punked by his clan in season 1. An average Mandalorian is basically Batman, but amongst them, he is average. And I think that's fair. And I think that we've seen things to support that point of view. So I definitely see where Vigilante's coming from. And he goes on to say that he finds that endearing, which I don't disagree with. But
so he's the underdog, is what you're saying.
To an extent, I think that's where he's going, and it's a fair point of view, and I definitely understand it.
Now, if this becomes a season where he's constantly getting saved by different female characters, and I say you're onto something. Up next, Gina Carano. Up next, Rosario Dawson.
Mando is far too trusting for a merc in this season, and Myriosphere, thank you for popping in. By the way, hail, sir! Another very good up and coming channel to check out if anybody hasn't had a chance to pop over to Myriosphere. He's got a lot of good content coming out, and he's covering Mando as well. And it's a fair observation that he is definitely too trusting. I wouldn't argue with that. He's presented with somebody that he thinks he can get some help from, or something that he needs something from, and as long as he does their side quest, he'll get what he's after. And every single episode so far has been him having to do something for somebody else in order to, maybe get his goals achieved.
Well, and that's another, I say major pitfall of each of these stories lending itself to the big story arc is that, how that's all we're seeing is episode after episode. He's got to get information. He agrees to a job. It doesn't go the way he wants it to, whether it's a worm or whatever. So yeah.
A great dragon.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sorry. You're right. But it's like, who said that? Someone in the chats were talking about, the writing. Looks like it's 10 different people's right. Alexander said, looks like it's 10 different people writing the script. There's a lot of big picture problems with this show still.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. We all like the show, but we're all seeing different things that we think they're getting wrong for one reason or another. But most of us are seeing different things that we're calling out that we'd like to see better. And so the one thing I want to point out is we're having a true fan discussion for the most part, right? And I don't think there's anybody on the panel who would say they're not enjoying Mando. I'm definitely enjoying it. I look forward to every episode. I look forward to every single Friday morning when I review it, and I look forward to watching all of y'all's takes on it as well. Everybody here likes it. So I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea that we're being, this is shit and right? This is good, cool fan discussion like we used to have.
And we're having it in 2020. Shocking. And 2020 could, if you thought 2020 could get more shocking, we're having this discussion.
I enjoy this. I hate Star Trek Discovery as a Trekker.
I won't even watch that.
I watch it just so I can throw my remote at my big screen every single time.
Oh my God.
It gives me my pitching arm gets a workout because thank goodness I have a projector and a projector screen, right? So it's just throwing at that matte screen every time. It's not breaking my HD TV.
I thought that I warned you a few weeks ago to stay away from the STDs.
We had this talk.
I know. I have to practice safe Star Trek.
Bro, you should have worn protection. This is what you did for not wearing protection.
The full body condom there from. It's funny because some of the crew and I have been watching Blake 7 over again, and one of the episodes recently they had these kind of Michelin Man full body condom outfits to go for quarantine, and I looked at that and we couldn't stop laughing for 5 minutes because someone made a Star Trek Discovery comment about STDs and they'd be protected from Star Trek Discovery, and we were like we were howling for 5 minutes. So I agree. This show is good. It could be a lot better. We're just getting nitpicky. Yes, just another red shirt. I am on my 14th remote.
Since day one.
Yeah. Swipe left on Kurtzman. Yeah.
Oh goodness!
Oh God! But Yeah, Miriosphere is just getting into season 2 of Voyager. He misses DS9, but yeah, STD. Well, I mean, they told us, at the start of this season, what's wrong with STD? They've got the burn.
What's wrong with STD? Do you hear that in a sentence? What's wrong with STD? Listen to yourself.
It gives you the burn.
I think didn't Johnny Cash put out a song just about that? I fell into a burning ring of fire.
That's why he wanted to cover Nine Inch Nails as hurt, because it made him hurt.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mary's saying, if you think about it, it's a great show. It can still get a 7 or higher, even when the main character's acting strange, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, definitely. No, Mary G's right. I'm like, again, if this is the worst of our problems facing a show or movie, etc., this is a kind of a good problem to have. I won't say it's a great problem, but it's a kind of a good problem to have.
Yeah, I mean, if this is the worst of the problems that we're going to get out of watching a Star Wars show, even if it's still being produced under the Disney banner, I've definitely gotten to a point where as long as Jon Favreau's name is still on this thing, I'm good.
Yes. Absolutely. No, hey, I hear it. Also, Alexander of the Vidakovic, SJWs might have gone to us about, yeah, they have. I mean, considering we've done, half a decade to a decade of dealing with this madness taking over several different cultures, I could see his comment does have some relevance to it. So, yeah, good point there, dude.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's pronounced Vidakovic, Nick.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. Alexander, let me know in the chat if I'm even close.
Yeah, let us know before any of us are close.
Alexander Vidakovic.
I think that's about it. Yes, although I do not admit to be an expert in Eastern European pronunciations. Geek Tropology, Star Trek diversity. Yeah, yes.
Diversity.
I guess we're destroying it. Call him Alex.
We must be doing horribly. I'm sorry, Alex.
If you could use just Alex.
I really am sorry. We're not doing it on purpose.
Hey, Alex, I'm used to it also. You said something way earlier about with the Anita lady.
Mm-hmm.
This is, the Mandalorian is a success, just like you said, and people are talking about it. This is now becoming a thing. Second successful season, Emmy Award winning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so those people that are out of jobs or not working or not creating, they're just like, damn, man, I could have, they're just hating on the show's success. So you got a lot of haters, period.
Mm-hmm.
You add in their politics and their social agenda, like she's trying to do. It's like, dude, what a completely, out of the ballpark thing to bring up. For her to bring up female chest plate armor.
Oh,
yeah,
I knew you were going there.
Man? What are you talking? I mean, what world are you in? You know what I'm saying? It's
narcissism.
And this is great that you're not a part of it. So shut up, get some popcorn, and watch the damn show.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vigilante's got an interesting comment. He's a capitalist, so he at least halfway respects the girl's hustle to still eat on the SJW streets since 2014.
My man, Vigilante.
That's my boy right there, man. Very nice.
It's a fair point. I will admit, I also admire the hustle.
And just with that, Vigilante, I want you on the Latino Slant. Let's bring it, man.
Dude, he'd be a great match on your channel, Paulie. He would.
As long as he doesn't wear that Detroit Red Wing hat, he can be on any show.
Come on, man.
Vigilante Williamson, 24/7. Red Wings.
Detroit gets no love. We gotta show love to our Detroit brothers and sisters. Come on, man.
Yeah, 10-4.
I hear Detroit has great pizza. While we're on the subject of Detroit, I hear their sauce is amazing on the pizza.
You're not wrong. I remember living in Austin. There was a 512, whatever the area code was, Detroit
Yeah.
Pizza, like a small chain that opened up, and they ruled Austin for a few years.
What?
So you're not wrong on that.
Mm.
I
Do you
guess
remember the name of it,
stories
man?
are real.
I would love to try that place.
Oh yeah, you're in Austin. Duh.
Yeah.
There's one on God,
Do you remember-
and I haven't
remember
lived in
the name?
Austin for a few years. What Vigilante? Give me the area code of the main area code if you can put it in the chat of.
So I will just
Detroit.
note that Steve
313?
Eiserman was
313.
born in Cranbrook in Canada. So Stevie Y is a card-carrying Canadian there, Vigilante. So you can wear his jersey. I'm good with that.
Well, I mean, let's be fair. The majority of excellent hockey players, a hell of a lot of them are coming out of Canada.
Yes, that's true.
So,
Go
I mean,
ahead, go.
Hail Canada for definitely having, among the best hockey players that there are out there. I will absolutely, all day long, always give that to Canada.
I have close family that lives in Detroit, so just giving you a hard time, man. Love the city, love the people. They're hardworking. They've been going through some rough times in Michigan, and my heart goes out to them. And I wish all the success for all the people in Michigan.
Yeah. So there was a scene in this episode of Mando to get back to Mando when they first assault the ship. I saw a bit of a homage to a classic sci-fi movie that I have loved my entire life, and Flash Gordon.
Flash, Gordon!
Gordon's alive!
Gordon's alive!
Save every one of us.
No kidding. No kidding. My wife watched Flash Gordon for the first time last Friday night. So for my birthday weekend, I got to pick the movies we got to watch. Guess one of the ones I picked was Flash Gordon.
Oh.
And at the end, she was like, "What the hell did I just watch?"
Mrs. Slant, there'll be those nights where she's like, whatever you want to watch, honey. I want to watch zombies. No, not that.
It's like the restaurant. Like, where do you want to eat? I don't care.
Oh, yes, you do.
Did you know in Oklahoma there's literally a restaurant called I Don't Care? But before we get back on Mando, I had to mention that since you got on that. But okay, back to Mando.
I sent you a link to the private chat.
Oh, you are the best.
I just don't know if they're still open. I don't know, that's from a couple of years ago, so.
Dude, I will absolutely check that out. I'm looking forward. That sounds good. So this is what I'm talking about right here. So they're on the side of the ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is just like when they're assaulting, Ming's rocket in Flash, and they're coming in on the side, and they're leaning up against it. This was very much a homage to that in my mind. I'm crazy.
You're not wrong. That's George Lucas. That's Favreau. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And I loved that callback to Flash Gordon because, Flash was just great.
Yeah, I think that's great. It's funny how we've been commenting a lot lately that a lot of these shows are stealing stuff from other shows. And if you do it right, and it's not so bad. I think this one was great. Of course, from a 1980 movie, it's a little dated, so that's cool. But I love that whole section. Once they started the assault, from there on in, except for a few little minor problems I had, but I think that was awesome.
There is a difference between the homage and outright theft.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
Take
we've
care,
got a few cases of theft from STD. Matter of fact, we know we have several cases of theft from STD. We have the original material that it came from and the new versions in STD.
Allegedly.
In my opinion, that is strongly supported by evidence.
People. Yeah.
Oh no.
We just lost Nick.
Nick. That was not your outro.
I'm sure Nick will be back, but yeah,
Oh, man, he's gone under the bridge, Red Hot Chili Pepper style.
Homage is wonderful, and to me, this scene in Mando was exactly that, and it was absolutely wonderful. See, Nick's trying to reconnect. Looks like his device is having a quick
Yeah,
connection.
you look like you're pixelated too.
Oh,
Me?
that is him? I thought that was me.
Nope, that's Jake.
Oh, for Pete's sake!
And
For
roboting
Pedro's
slightly
sake.
then.
Still there?
Nick, you back?
Nope, you're still pixelated. Check one.
I think everybody just started watching their evening shows in Austin.
Yay! Okay,
Oh,
so
okay.
now I know it wasn't me because I'm like, man, my computer, it's all like weird looking. I'm like, oh, maybe if I leave, then like I'll come back, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh no, yeah, Jake is still all blurry. I just see like his head slanted.
Yep, still pixels. And roboting.
Yeah, right.
Jake, you might want to, if you have anything else using your Wi-Fi right now, you might want to turn everything else so that's off. If you're, I don't know if you're plugged in. So you should be.
We'll carry the conversation when we get to.
If this was an episode of EFAP, I'd say Singapore will save us, but it's not.
So where do we
Upload
live off
to,
before I booted myself out?
We were just talking about how some shows are paying homage to some other shows, and some shows are outright stealing plot points.
Oh yeah, of course. There's a time and place where you can have influence, but to the point where it's plagiarism, it is wholly different. I couldn't agree any more with Draco on that.
And
Yeah.
Jake D brought up an excellent case early in the thing. A member berry, he called it, but I would classify it almost fully as an homage when you have the walkers, when you have the AT-AT walker's legs being used to mount that crane that lift up the Razor Crest out of the water. It's like, someone would come along and repurpose that because that would be an excellent use for that technology. That I would classify as a solid homage to the original material.
that's
you are in the universe.
Exactly what I was going to say, yeah. And in-universe homage, absolutely. You might as well do that. If you're going to borrow from the genre and from your own universe, it adds to it as long as it doesn't hit you over the head with it. We are still in the post-Empire years within 5 years of Return of the Jedi and the destruction of the second Death Star. So there should be lots of that stuff lying around where the Empire has abandoned it, or it was destroyed, or whatever. If the rebellion carried on to other planets, absolutely they would take all of that gear and reuse it in a better way.
Retool what they could because it was left around.
That's right.
And the Empire is still operating, so they've got their ships and material. They're still trying to repurpose their own material.
Long live the Empire. I actually dug that scene with Moff Gideon. I dug that, especially when you only saw his, I guess you could say
was well done.
hollow presence, his hologram presence. It was well done. I actually felt the impact. Even though he wasn't physically there, I felt that. I'm like, bro, he ain't even physically there, and I feel that.
Yeah.
You know what I would love to ask the chat and you guys is, do you see what possible surprises or anything major that could be thrown at us for the rest of the season of Mandalorian? This goes off of just being excited and, hopeful.
Well, besides all of the other stuff that we kind of suspect already, like Ahsoka and
that's already there.
yeah,
beyond known.
Good question.
Oh man, I guess for a comical surprise, it would be if Carl Weathers' directed episode, he didn't appear in it. That would be a very big surprise. Like, bro, you directed the episode, but you didn't bother the show? Because I know he's doing episode 4, if memory serves correct. Carl Weathers, Greek Karga.
Yeah, it's the next episode.
Okay, next one. Yeah,
we saw we put up images, but I'm talking about like something complete, like a Luke Skywalker appearance. Like I'm talking something crazy. Any of you guys have any ideas?
Something bold. Oh boy, that's a
kind of like kind of like Darth Vader at the end of Rogue One, where you get that kick butt, absolute lightsaber kick
that
butt
scene's
stuff, right?
Still amazing. I've
Yeah,
watched that
that's-
scene like 300 times.
Or maybe
I
like
would-
an Ahsoka, mind moment with Luke. Because they're in the same universe. They're alive at the same universe.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's some
They're still
interesting stuff.
Ahsoka's death.
Oh,
If she does it to save everybody, like the child, and to save the Mando, and she sacrifices herself, and Moff Gideon runs the Darksaber through her, and then Bo-Katan gets a shot off because he's vulnerable or something like that would be kind of cool.
I am completely open to the possibility of something coming up surprising, something that would be surprising, but I'm expecting
There he is.
that it's going to be
It's our host.
only
Hey,
Hey, he's back.
It's definitely made it. And
I have no idea what just happened to my computer, but it went down bad.
Oh,
Whoa.
sorry, man.
Bro.
Sorry, you look good. We can see you.
All right.
Is there smoke and fire?
No, it just the internet just went out on the dang machine. I don't know what else to say.
Bro. That
Wow.
internet.
long distance tech support is shit, and that's
So
what I
the,
would be to try to help you.
So the-
Well,
Oh man.
Do you want to
Quick-
finish your thought there, Draco, though? Like, what were you going to
Well,
say?
I just wanted to. Did Jake know what we asked?
No.
So we asked, besides of what we know coming up, what like major plot twist or surprise could happen, like a Luke Skywalker appearance or something just so crazy. Could that happen?
I mean, I think you've got to lose Baby Yoda out of the series, but I think they've got that set up. He gets handed off to Ahsoka, right? I think that's kind of one of the conclusions of this season. You can't use him as a crutch all the time.
Oh man!
But he's looking for a
Man of
wow
War is
moment.
pretty funny.
You want to? Oh, we can't highlight because this is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those men just hanging on.
Oh,
that's great.
now where's those AOLs like?
But if you could see up, scroll up, what Man of War said, Jake.
Palpatine is the baby. Oh dear. You know who's great uncle.
Oh, do not say that name.
I must say that I love that avatar too. That's Lord Soth from Dragonlance. So we know we've had a lot of Dragonlance news in the last few weeks.
Oh,
Margaret
I
Weiss
have
and
not,
Tracy Hickman.
I have not heard. Why don't you? 'Cause, I mean, I remember playing Dragonlance when I was a kid. There were a few video games based on it that I loved. What's the news there, Thoth?
Oh wow! In a quick couple of minutes, it's so TSR, which is Wizards of the Coast now, and Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman had a contract to write the next group of Dragonlance novels for of course Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that went on where they were writing the novels, and then they provided some rough copies. Wizards of the Coast sent back and asked them to make some changes. There was a whole bunch of legalese and problems, and then there was a big falling out. And now Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman are suing Wizards of the Coast. So it's a big legal battle that's going on, which is too bad. Probably going to mean we're not going to see any Dragonlance anytime soon. It's my favorite theme for Dungeons and Dragons growing up. I mean, as a GM, a dungeon master for years and years, since like the mid 70s, I played Dungeons and Dragons, but back in the old days of TSR and, Blue Book, Red Book, all those people out there who are role-playing fans and who've played Dungeons and Dragons, 1st edition on up to the current 5th edition. So Dragonlance was one of my favorite worlds to live in. They've written, I don't know how many novels that Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman have written, but it's got to be in the 30s or 40s. I know that there is a whole stack of novels that have been written in that world. So that was the big news, yeah, because there was a big there was talk about how there was some diversity requests, and Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman wanted to stay kind of in their own world and based on, elves are elves, dwarves are dwarves, that kind of thing. And then with all the backlash on making things more diverse and making things more politically correct in our world today, I think there was a lot of pushback, and I think that there's some issues that have been going on too behind the scenes at Wizards of the Coast with who's the now head of Wizards of the Coast. It's all politics anyway. It would take probably a couple of hours just to go into all the details, but that's pretty much it.
Okay, well, hey, the computer seems to be working again.
Hell,
Yay!
to follow up some more thought, I don't want you to be denied any new material because I know Weiss and Hickman have been big names in Dragonlance, even from my oblique exposure. I do not know, but I am familiar with them solely because of that, and I have known them for a long time solely because of that. But at least you saying that some of these issues may be because of some of the progressive elements, because there's been a lot of bad flack from Wizards in the Coast and all of their properties across the whole scale that a lot of fans have been hitting back at because it's the same story. It's the SJW incursion, and the attacks on Wizards of the Coast have been significant. I mean, everything from orcs, the same stuff in Warcraft. The orcs are black people and things like that, and all the things that they're saying. I would prefer that Weiss and Hickman didn't have to write during this particular period in time unless they were unhindered and unguided by Wizards.
Fair enough, man. But yeah, I mean, getting back though to speculation on where we're going with Mando. Nick, did you weigh in on that yet?
Yeah, I mean, where they're gonna go with it. I mean, obviously, if Mando hands off the child to Ahsoka Tano, it makes you think like they're gonna replace him, especially if he's keeping this helmet on all the time. They're gonna replace him with some other creature, child-like thing. It might be the substituting one evil for another equivalent. So, I mean, that's what I think is going to happen. At that point, it's just like, is it worth it, the drop off? Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong, but that's where I see. I'm hoping for a counter with Moff Gideon though this season. I want to see that guy in action.
Oh, me too. I mean, I think that handing the child off to Ahsoka is the setup for an Ahsoka spinoff show. We know that they want to do more shows.
Totally.
And we know they're setting them up this season.
Oh, yeah,
right.
And that's fine. I mean, I'm down for spinoffs, and if that means that the Mandalorian show can be the Mandalorian, because I know we spoke about like a month and a half ago here on Howling About Entertainment, like, as long as the Mandalorian show is still Mando, then hey, great, spin-off away. Let's just hope it's not only exclusive to be a springboard for others to, develop their own platform, because we still need this story to go further, too.
Yeah, I mean, this story could continue down the path with Mando and Bo-Katan and her folks, and they can head off in their direction. And then you've got Ahsoka and the child heading off in their direction. And because they were telling us that they wanted to tell a wider, bigger story, and we know they're bringing in more shows. So, I mean, that feels like a natural way.
Did you say wider?
Yes, wider.
It's racist.
It is.
Well,
or a green is showing.
It could be a greenish show.
I think it may be fat shaming.
Your istophobism is coming out.
I denounce white supremacy in all of its forms.
I just realized I'm on the show with all you guys.
Hey.
Now, Nick, do you denounce white supremacy?
In the words of Nerdrotic, I denounce white supremacy.
White.
Lord Thoth, do you denounce white supremacy in all of its forms?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've been on for an hour 45, and I realized we hadn't announced white supremacy 5 or 6 times yet.
I mean, you're slipping. You're slipping. You guys are slipping.
Now, Paulie, it's very important that
Yes.
you denounce white supremacy.
But I love it so much.
Okay, he's all in love about it.
All I can say is stand down, stand by.
That was beautiful.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and a Darth Vader movie would
Ooh.
definitely be probably the next smartest theater-based move.
Some
For
great
him.
ideas.
Who said Bryan Cranston? Who was that?
That was Max Rottenstein.
That's a great name. I don't know where that came from, but that's a great name, Max.
So yeah, and Ace Mr. Freeze says fatter, please. Fatter.
Oh, he even did PH fat. That's so 98 of him. Man, let's go to Hot Topic.
And that's
God
white
face.
wine. Super.
Wine deserves a
I'll
chance.
drink.
Nice.
I'll drink to that.
Nice.
I do enjoy a fine Merlot myself, by all means.
I'm drinking a nice Valpolicella right now. Gotta go Italian.
Yeah, I mean, but beyond taking, the Mandos one direction and then, Ahsoka and the Child another direction. I mean, where else are they expanding this thing?
Well, you still have the Boba
Ooh.
Fett thing, right? That's another possibility on a spinoff. I don't know. Are they going to do the Game of Thrones thing where they're going to come up with 5 spinoffs and go, no, I guess we're going to do none?
That would, Sometimes less is more, so depending on the amount of our mileage may vary on the amount of spin-offs, because when I see this, it kind of makes me think of, like, when I read, primarily Spider-Man books, like, you'll have Amazing, Spectacular, Web of, yada yada, Spider-Man, especially in the 90s. It was the evildoer of them all, and I love Spider-Man, but too many books can sometimes confuse someone, and it's like some people, like, obviously guys like us, we're gonna latch on every Star Wars show you can get, but for the normie who's looking to get in, it's just like they might see it as a, where do I start? It may or may not push them away if you have too many spin-offs. For us, once again, the more the merrier for us, but as far as getting the new person, what?
I'll put one qualifier on what you said there, though, and that's as long as they're at least the quality level that we're getting from Mando.
Oh yeah, the quality definitely is a very essential agreed. I agree. As long as that works, ultimately it's what matters.
There's a couple of problems, right? So one, these shows cost a truckload of money. And depending on where Disney is when we get out of this coof thing, that's something to consider. Two, the spinoff, they need to do something different but the same. So what I mean by that is they need to do something that's going to catch you, that's going to be thematically true to the series, to the theme of Star Wars, but it's got to be different than Mando, unless they're going to just drop Mando because of Pedro and what's going on behind the scenes, and then they move into Boba Fett, for example, because a Boba Fett series is kind of the same as the Mandalorian series. So that's why I kind of have an issue with them doing a Boba Fett series. I like the idea of doing a Jedi series because we really haven't seen a good Jedi series. So whether it's Ahsoka or whether it's somebody else, that's cool.
Yeah, we know Mando season 3 is confirmed, and it's either filming right now or it's filming right after they film a Boba Fett series.
It could be a mini series though. So if it's a Boba Fett mini series, I'm good with that.
That's what they're saying it is a mini series. So and I gotta believe they didn't bring Tamura Morrison in for a 10-second cameo to do nothing else. There's no way that's the end of Tamura Morrison in this Filoni-verse. I mean, it can't be.
Filoni-verse.
No, I agree with you. I agree that you don't bring an actor like that in and pay his salary and bring him in for 5-minute cameo or whatever, just so he can look at you and go, Right.
Yeah.
Like I agree.
Yeah. So I think that the rumors of that Boba miniseries have got to be true because, I mean, you don't do a 5-second cameo to Tamura Morrison and end it there. You just don't. Mary, though, see, this is one of the things to keep in mind is Baby Yoda, of course, was made for Mary and for Ginger and for my sister and it worked perfectly. It is it's doing precisely what it was designed to do, and that is bring people like them back into the fold.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with that. So, because they knew the brand was damaged.
Oh, it's beyond damaged. I still think they have a long way to go. I will say one thing, though, that I was a little bit worried about Bo-Katan. I thought that they were going to bring into the show and maybe change her into a more diverse hire, being as how I am a ginger. So considering she's one of the few ginger characters in the multiverse here that hasn't been changed into a different diverse hire, kudos to Lucasfilm.
Yep. They did. There was no ginger side in Bo-Katan
Thank
this
goodness.
week.
Yep.
So,
One ginger lives on.
I mean, that's an interesting concept in and of itself because this is a real thing in
It's a
entertainment
real
right now.
thing. Jimmy Olsen, Annie, just look at those two alone. But go on.
I gotta
sorry.
bounce.
Starfire.
I gotta
go.
Yeah.
You got to
Sorry,
pop out, Paulie?
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, before you go, man, anything you want to plug?
Just you guys, everyone, a
Oh.
lot in the chat. Everyone in the chat, make sure you're sub to Jake D, Draco, 32 Flavors, Lord Thoth. These are really cool people. We're having a great time. Keep supporting independent creators.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What do you?
Everybody out there, don't forget to support Latino Slant. This man has been making some excellent content, and if you miss out on Latino Slant's next, you're gonna miss out on some good stuff.
I'm in particular a huge fan of your Friday afternoon show, Paulie.
Yeah.
And it's a great show. I'm enjoying your weekly Medio Latino.
Yeah. Everything's shaping up. So
Yeah.
little by little, everybody supporting each other. Y'all have a good week, and God bless, man. We'll see you.
Appreciate you coming in, Paulie. Thank you, sir.
Later, bud.
Bye.
So you want to talk about who they changed from a redhead into a beautiful other diverse hire?
Ariel,
the Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid, Chris and the Witcher, Hawk Girl, Hemdall, Electro, Kid Flash, Iris West, Jimmy Olsen, Starfire, Alice
Iris
Monaghan,
West. I thought
Annie.
Iris West was a blonde.
Iris West was a redhead in the comics.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe you're right. No, maybe you're right. I gotta go dig out my Flash comics. So.
Because don't forget that Wally West is Iris West were both redheads.
Oh, I know Wally. Yeah, the true Wally West is definitely a ginger. And then they try to give us tokenized Wallace West per 52, and so it's like, bro, like you're saying you're diversifying, but yet you're it's like they're killing off the redheads. I was like, bro, that's
Weasley
exclusive.
lives matter, says Max Rottenstein.
That was our last great redhead representation in media.
Oh my goodness! Ace Mr. Freeze asked, is Disney rebuilding the brand with what they're doing with Mando, or are they just stopping the fall? And it's a good question, and it really is an important question. And my answer to that would be, I think that they have arrested the fall at this point. And if season 2 is successful, and so far so good, then yes, it is working to rebuild the brand, because it is a brand that had a lot of damage. Fingers in a leaking dam. I definitely get that. Totally see where you're coming from. But I think at this point they've used, flex tape so they can plug more holes.
You're not wrong, brother.
They got all their power into the hover jets. They've just arrested the fall. We're still looking for real solid upward motion.
And Mando's crash or landing this week is sort of right where we're at with Star Wars right now. He came in and it looked like he was going to stick the landing, and it looked like he was going to stick the landing, and then
how much more is the Razor Crest gonna take? I bet you on my videos, it's like, bro, it's like people thought the Millennium Falcon was in bad shape. I'm like, bro, look at this thing. Like the Razor Crest, like, when's he gonna get an upgrade? Like,
you know what I got to do? I need to send him a Canadian Tire gift card to get some duct tape, because boy, I tell you, that ship needs some solid duct tape.
Yeah.
Well, hey, if duct tape is not working, use more duct tape.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I feel bad for him because but that was a good joke though. I liked that one because since he's coming in there, he's like, "Oh, we're good." He's like, and you kind of, you know what? That would have been an opportunity for him to have his helmet off. Because then you could see what's his emotion. He's like all confident, looking over at the child and going, "Yeah, man, I'm gonna land this," and then in the drink. Like it was just, it was a good joke. I laughed and I went, "Oh, I feel so bad for this man. Oh my goodness."
He definitely needs to hire a pilot.
Yeah,
he needs to go find his Chewbacca because he clearly can't handle it.
Yeah.
He's being dad. Running the ship, keeping the ship together. Yeah, he's multitasking like there's no tomorrow yet. And that ship, look, and because this is the result that we get because of all he's trying to juggle. That ship that is hanging out for dear life.
Yeah. Definitely, this is one of the most competent things he's been doing. I mean, number one, from everything we understand, the Razor Crest is an ancient ship by most standards. He's able to keep this thing running on his own. He knew the ship well enough to be able to put it through those maneuvers in the last episode. Unfortunately, he landed it on an unsteady shelf, crushed it, but could still seal the thing up enough so that he could fly in cockpit solely. And he was sticking the landing until finally one engine blew.
Yeah.
He's been shown to be very capable with this poor. I mean, this rust bucket has. The Millennium Falcon as a rust bucket has nothing on this poor thing.
Yeah, I hope they get him a new ship. I really do.
Seriously, like what? Season 2, that'll be his biggest accomplishment towards the end. A new ship.
Karma is really giving him a hard time, boy. He must have a lot of negative karma built up to go through all of these things. Oh my! But I think that Alex makes a good point there. He mentioning the Force, and I think he's right. I think that one of the main reasons why they're not doing too much with the Force is because they have no real Star Wars fans working on the scripts. It's all you've got Favreau, you've got Filoni. They're very much in their own universes, and I think Filoni is really, really stuck on a lot of his Clone Wars stuff. Yeah. So I think that's really what is what they're putting into it right now. Now he did a lot of stuff with the Jedi, obviously, because of the Clone Wars. It was the Jedi, right? But I think that they're kind of avoiding that because they want to get back to basics. The reason why they're not doing too much with the Force and too much with the Jedi is that adds a whole bunch of complications, especially for those of us who love the EU and everything they did with the Jedi post second Death Star. I think it's going to come. I think that really they want to get their confidence going with this show. They want to get their feet under them. They want to kind of get grounded again. And I think the Mando is a real easy way to do that.
And I agree 100% that was precisely what needed to be done with season 1. But they need to take the step into the Force in this season. And I expect that they will. We know Ahsoka's coming. And we know Ahsoka was formerly a Jedi, and she's a talented Force user. So I do believe we're going to get to see proper Force usage come. It'll probably be episode 5 because they're definitely not running into Ahsoka next week. So we probably see her at the end of episode 5, is my guess.
I
But
get
we
they're
also
opening a lot of doors.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Draco. I'm talking too much.
Well, but I also don't want to bring it down, because this brings it back around to the point. Now we're talking about selling forward and everything that's positive about this, but this still occurs in the world of the sequel trilogy. And as we go forward with using the Force and other things like that, I mean, I'd love for them to tell the story away from the sequels, to basically give us, could we get a better future if we somehow isolate that in some kind of fantasy world or something? I don't know. But the idea that from where we are going now is probably the best steps forward that Disney has taken with this property. And we want to see it improve. We want to see the Force powers. We want to see it. And I mean, as much as I don't like the idea of mining the EU that they once spurned,
Yep.
the EU is still full of so much good, and you could tell these stories. You could tell different stories. You could tell. It's hard to tell better stories when there are so many good ones. But maybe you could touch on the stuff. Sometimes you could go in a world that was really better. Don't we want to see some of this stuff told? Don't we want to see some of these stories play out?
So, I'm thinking, and maybe it's because I want Star Wars to be good so badly, because I do. Okay, make no mistake, I want Star Wars to be amazing. And so that perspective may be part of why I'm feeling this way. So I just want to make sure I preface this before I say it. So I think that we have seen indications that the timeline is unfolding differently in Mandalorian than what we got from the Disney tragedy movies. There have been hints, some subtle, some not, that we are not necessarily in the same timeline.
That's a big leap.
Is it or isn't it? So I understand, again, I understand why you say that. But for example, and this one, I think you could say was subtle. So we saw the holo vids of the Death Star blowing up at the end of Jedi when they were giving us the flashbacks in the Marshal. Okay.
Yep.
There was something important about the holo vid that we saw. The explosion of the Death Star that we saw in the Marshal did not leave any possibility for a giant chunk of the fucking Death Star to be sitting on a planet in order to hold the location of the Sith dagger that they found in The Rise of Palpatine.
Neither did the end of Return of the Jedi.
Correct.
Sure. Yeah, they used a lot of the Return of the Jedi special effects, I think, in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going with the writing that was underneath it as well, or wait? I'm sorry, I'm stealing your thunder, aren't I?
Yeah, well, but no, go ahead. The writing that was underneath it, thought for anybody who missed it, hit them up.
Yeah, so a lot of what's happening, I think, is you're right. I think that what they're doing is they're rewriting a lot of the history. I don't know if they're going to do a complete reset. I think that when Timothy Oliphant was sitting there and we look over the side, it was really kind of blurred out what they had. But it's just, you're right that they used the special effects more from the classic Return of the Jedi, so that the Death Star was destroyed. Unless we don't need to get into the physics and the chances of any big chunks like that surviving re-entry into planetary atmosphere is just ludicrous anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It should have caused catastrophic damage to the planet's ecosystem if those big chunks had entered the atmosphere. It'd be like a meteorite or an asteroid striking Earth. It would have completely annihilated any chances of life on that planet.
It would have been an ELE. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think that was just kind of a subtle hint where they're saying, hey, we're planning to do something different. We're going to take it in a different direction here. And I think it's a good idea. I don't know if you want to take it from here, or I think it's
Yeah.
a good idea. Go ahead.
So, but yeah, so that we've had little things like that occurring that suggest that we may not be in the same timeline that the Disney tragedy presented us. And so I'm hopeful, and again, maybe it's me wanting Star Wars to be good so desperately that I'm leaping. Okay, I fully admit that is distinctly possible. But
I don't think that's unfair either. I think we are all. I mean, remember what Alex mentioned, that this comes, our criticisms, our arguing about this comes from a place of love.
yes,
We care about it. We want it to be better, and we believe, and we are seeing cases where this can be better. And the more we get the ideas that this could be separate from things that weren't better, we keep hoping. I mean, you know my Stay Frosty and stuff like that. I have less concern about this than I did for the property that I was using that with more recently in the boys. But
Yes.
you go on from here, please.
Yeah.
I just say that because I want us to be I want us to be, Frosty and things like that, but I have better feelings right now, and I really want it to pay off. It's just I've been shot in the back and stabbed. There's this scar back here.
Yeah, I mean, I think pretty much everybody is probably familiar with the Doomcock rumors. And just a quick refresher, if anybody didn't get the gist of those, basically what he heard, and this is rumor, it's rumor through sources, right? So it's rumor. And what he heard was basically that essentially Favreau's kind of got the reins on the story going forward, and that he's going to use some way or another to basically either erase the Disney tragedy movies or have the timeline unfold in a different way through some type of intervention. And there's a lot of people who took sort of takeaways from that and maybe made alternate hypotheses. And I think that, I'm in sort of the Gary Nerdrotic camp of they're not going to directly erase what happened, but they could very easily just send the story in another direction and sort of memory hole those movies and just kind of act like they never happened. And I think that's what we're seeing on screen.
It would definitely be the save face method, which is what we expect from Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yep. They will never admit what they did was wrong. Like I said, Hollywood's too narcissistic to ever do that. So the best they'll do at best is just to go on and not acknowledge that it's undone, but go
while making a better thing.
Yeah, while doing better, of course. I would honestly respect Hollywood that much more, though, if someone could just say, hey, we screwed up. Let's try again. I really would have a renewed respect for whomever would say it, but obviously that ain't gonna happen in the history of ever.
Yeah, and Vigilante Williamson's point, right? It's almost like they're going to multiverse it, and exactly right. So the Disney tragedy movies are still going to exist, but the storyline they move forward with, it's going to be based off what we're seeing in Mando, and I really think that they're unfolding the timeline differently. So I don't know. What do you think, Thoth?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, with KK being pushed to the side, hopefully she's now gone and doesn't have her fingers in the pot anymore. I think that with we have to be careful. I mean, Favreau has some good ideas. Filoni has some good ideas. You really need to bring George in. You got to bring him back. He's the brainchild. He's the one. As long as he has somebody there to rein in his weird ideas that go way out in left field, I think that he could bring a huge part to this. As has been said in the chat, I think Alex and some others have said that, he was really the one behind most of the Clone Wars. Filoni would come to him with ideas and George would say, "Yep, thanks," pat him on the head and send him on his way. So let's not get too pulled into Filoni and Favreau doing such an awesome job, because obviously we've seen it from the last 2 seasons where we have issues. So with the Death Star explosion, I think that was brilliant to bring that in there just as a member berry, as some people call it. I have the little interlac writing underneath it where it has all these characters and stuff and describing how the Death Star was destroyed and how the rebels didn't fix everything overnight, that there's still a lot of problems. We see that in the Outer Rim. We see that from Timothy Oliphant on Tatooine. Yeah, they kicked the stormtroopers out, but now they got to take care of themselves, and that's happening everywhere in the galaxy. That's cool, because what that does is that brings the chaotic times back. So you can have people like the Mando, you can have bounty hunters, you can have mercenaries, and you can have that fun Wild West action kind of stories that really get away from the Disney trilogy, which has been awful. So I think that Favreau being there, Filoni being there, there's perfect picture right there.
Yeah, right here.
The 3 of them there. But as long as George is there he's the idea guy. But you've got 2 fans there. I have problems with Filoni, but he's a fan. Favreau, he's obviously a fan, or else he wouldn't have stuck his neck out to come into this. You've got the 3 guys right there. Let's take it forward. Let's do some really cool, creative stuff. But as long as they all have kind of a voice where they can rein each other in on their crazy ideas, and they need to hire a soldier. They need to hire a military advisor to go in there to tell them all about how strategy, tactics, and battle and warfare works, because some of the stuff they're coming up with just doesn't work very good. So
and importantly, as it comes to specifically in relation to George as the idea guy, and then dealing with the writing from that point. So what I've noted already this season that was different than last season, every episode so far, including next week's chapter 12, Favreau is credited as the writer. That was not true last season. Favreau was not the credited writer in all of the first 8 chapters. He had the majority of them, but he didn't have all 8. And this season, the first 4, they all credit Favreau. And I don't think that it's a stretch to say that the scripts have been better this season.
They have not been better this season. Like, going in 3 episodes deep, I was definitely more enthused about season 1's first 3 episodes than season 2's first 3 episodes. I wholeheartedly agree. Like, I feel like, the pacing was definitely better with season 1, and they had definitely, established, where the direction they want to go, because by episode 3 we learned about the quote, "This is the way." We learned about that type of Mandalorian. We didn't know at the time that was a type, but we at least know, okay, this is where they're laying the groundwork, and the action was there. It felt like they knew where they want to go. This right now, it's like, well, we're going somewhere, and right now they're on this journey, especially with episode 2 being an episode that got no accomplishments. That doesn't help either. Even with episodes 1, 2, and 3, there are things that at least happen. Like episode 2, you could say is a filler, but at least we learned that the child has powers, and he saved Mando's life. So there were things that were accomplished in that sense. Not every episode has to be a revolutionary cliffhanger thing, but something that furthers the story. And episode 2 of season 2, aka chapter 10, nothing was furthered whatsoever.
Yeah.
And that's a problem alone.
Yeah, and if they loop that back in the season finale, the final couple of chapters, I think we'll find that our opinion on that has changed. And again, I'm giving them a lot of faith here, right? I think it's distinctly possible that we loop those guys back in and the Republic back in some kind of strike on Gideon for the conclusion of the season. If they do that, episode 2, that chapter 10 is no longer so much filler.
Oh, yeah, and that's totally true. And I've said before, many times, be it full. Sometimes when you look at something as one little piece, you're like, I don't like it, or it's average. But then when you look at it as a collective thing, whether it's an entire season or a song as the single compared to an album, you appreciate it in the greater form of things. When you see or hear it in its entirety, you do see the context a little bit differently, and then maybe sometimes have a renewed appreciation for things. And I'm really hoping for that out of Chapter 10 once this season concludes.
Yeah. Me too. If they bring it into the greater story, that'll be very good writing. In fact,
that's the thing. I want to be proven wrong. If I want to be like, who doesn't want to be proven wrong? Who doesn't want that? But
in the service of a greater, better story, I'll be happy to be proven wrong.
If the assumption is, if our assumptions are for the bad, we'd rather be proven right, because we do not want the norm. We do not want the nihilism. We do not want the norm. It's just going to turn out bad. We want to be because we want our heroes. We want Mandalorian to somehow rise above all of his difficulties. We want him to stop being punked and to figure out, hey, I'm going to go, I don't know, I'm going to go my way on my own and I'm going to do better. And he actually turns out better at the end or something like that. We want these things to turn. We want the catastrophe. We want everything that's going bad to turn into something good.
Yeah, prove me wrong, baby. Prove me wrong.
Yep.
Yes, but Mary G has got a wonderful idea for a spinoff show. Which actually may be what they're planning to do with Ahsoka. I mean, as silly as it's
God,
not.
I hope not.
I mean,
Baby
they've
Yoda
definitely.
and friends. He can eat.
Oh, we know he can eat. We've learned that the hard way.
Yeah, but I'm talking about which friends does he have? Which friends are friends, and which are the friends that he can eat?
Fish are friends, not food, Brad. If y'all have kids, you probably know Finding Nemo.
I know.
And the second one was worse.
Oh,
I think we have to remember here too, and the reason why I mentioned having a soldier on as part of the team, the creative team, and in the writing crew is I've been harping on this a couple of times about how you need life experience to be able to really write a show that can be traumatic and uplifting for your audience. Yep. When you've gone through the worst that life has to offer and you come out the other side ahead, that's great. And we've seen the Mando. He's really been coming through the worst lately. But you also have to know that in the United States in particular, I have to emphasize, soldiers who have been into combat situations in the last 30 years, especially because they're the younger audience. I'm obviously not going into deeper than that because, we just celebrated Memorial Day / Remembrance Day throughout the world here a few days ago. And what brings that to mind is when you're writing a story, the strategy, the tactics of warfare, the ins and outs, the good things and the bad things that go right and wrong. But you also have to remember the tragedy. There's the personal tragedy that comes with writing a very strong story, and I think really we've seen that a little bit. I have spoken. And we saw him go, and we saw IG-11, and we saw that. That's great in the first season. I'd like to see that allies and friends of the Mando falling by the wayside, sacrificing themselves so that the child and he could go on. And that weighs on a person.
Not Gina, though.
No, not yet.
No! Don't you
wait for it. I think that having a soldier who's been in that, where he's seen his comrades and his friends not make it to come home after a war is one of those things whereby you can add that little dramatic part to that story and put a little bit more pain into our joy. We love this show. I think I can say love because it's not the trilogy we just watched, so we're really starting to enjoy this. The tragedy.
Get your diction right.
The tragedy.
Thank you, Geektropology, for giving us that term.
I think we're really starting to enjoy the show, and that's why we're nitpicking it so much, and why it's so much fun to sit here and go, I would have done that differently. But it's just my thoughts. I think having life experience on the writing staff is a big plus. Yeah, you've got the Star Wars fans. Let's get some people with some life experience and let's meld them into a more realistic portrayal of this dark and gritty universe that the Mando finds himself in.
That's not a bad idea, man. I mean, I see where you're coming from for sure. So, all right, guys, we are coming up on 2.5 hours, so I think it is about time to get wound down. But, I want to do kind of one sort of final around the horn, just sort of final thoughts for the week. Anything maybe we didn't touch on, you wanted to make a comment on, something like that. So what'd you give us your closing thoughts, Draco?
Well, there was one thing that we didn't bring up about our true heroine, who is behaving like a heroine in real life against all of the Twitterati that are attacking her.
Oh yes.
That if I don't think there's anything I could do because I don't hang out there because the place is toxic, but if only there were more people who would stand up to this bullshit like Gina Carano is doing, a true fighter, a person who they're attacking who represents the strong, feminine, individual characteristics that I think a lot of women could look up to.
Yes.
And all of the men that appreciate her for standing up and speaking and just wanting to be a sense of not just fighting back, but also being a sense of peace in the storm, in the shit storm that she is in.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the last thought on that, I want to, if ever Gina Carano saw this, I would want to say, you keep fighting, girl, because you're fighting the good fight in a way that most people would not have even thought was a good thing. Other than that, hope for the best.
And you can find her on Parler now at Gina Joy Carano.
I have already followed her. I have already followed her there.
So have I.
Me three.
She was number 2 after Nerdrotic.
There you
Sorry,
go.
JT. Sorry, JT.
Honestly, I'm going to have to find her because I just started a Parler account today.
Cool.
Yes, I am at Jake D Podcast on Parler.
Yeah, because Jake D was already taken, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
I looked at my wait, that's not you. I'll have to look that up.
Yes, but yeah. So you can catch a lot of our creators over there on Parler now, and in particular the great Gina Carano, who instantly followed Nerdrotic and Geeks and Gamers and.
Now we all got to work our way through the ranks of being followers for her.
There you go.
Not only is she strong and beautiful, she's smart.
There you go.
Oh yeah, that's where it's at. No, and she's super cool. Like, and it wasn't even until she came out like this. Like, I've been following her since season came out, and I remember like going through her Twitter and stuff. Like, oh man, she just seems like a normal person, like in Hollywood, because everyone else Hollywood's like they run on like a robot mode, like you program, push the button, and they say the same quote. It's like a crappier version of Tickle Me Elmo.
Well, that's why we call them NPCs, Nick.
No, I know. So it's just like it was such a breath of fresh air, and it still is. Even though now we've known this for months, it's still that much cool that to have this happen with Gina. Like, she's the hero that we need.
There you go. Any final thoughts from you, Thoth?
Like I said earlier, I want to see a Bo-Katan, Cara Dune pillow fight. I think that it's great to see some strong representation in the show. So get that done, Jon Favreau and Filoni. I want to see that.
Make it happen, John.
Get her done. Make it so. Engage. No, sorry, that was a Picard shot. He's my 5th favorite captain now.
He could redeem himself if he said engage on that fight.
Hey, yeah, he could be the referee. I think that the show is good. I think it has a lot of room to improve, but I think that we are truly enjoying it, I would hope. Most of the fandom, I think, is really starting to enjoy it, minus the silly little silliness about armor and stuff like that. I tend to try to ignore that as much as possible and just enjoy the show for what it is. I'm not picking apart the plot too much. I'm not picking apart too many of the little things. I just want to enjoy it, and that's what I do, and sit there and have my lunch and watch it, and it's been fun. And I think that I'm looking forward to the next 5 episodes, and it can only get better from here.
Well, I hope it gets better from here. It could get worse. I just gotta be honest.
Get worse. I'm trying to be optimistic.
Hoping for better.
That's right.
Being optimistic.
All right. Nick, any final thoughts? Anything you want to plug?
I'm youtube.com/Nick's Toxic Waltz, or just my username 32 Flavors of NickWeiser. I'm on Parler as well under NickWeiser, twitter.com/NickWeiser. I've been touching The Mandalorian as well. Obviously, I'm here on Howling About Entertainment with our wonderful host, Jake D. Xflix and Chill with the one and only Latino Slant. I'll start going live in early December once I got my logo and my whole new layout on the way coming. So should be superbly excellent. I've done some album reviews too. I got one in the can. I got another one on the way. So for any of the metalheads out there and you want to hear about good albums or maybe something you're not aware of, I'm a good place to go to for your unknown musical taste buds. And I got more, and I've got more food that is gonna be fat filled, gluten filled that I can't wait to talk about. Now back to you guys.
Good times.
All right, and I am of course Jake D, and this has been Howling About Entertainment for November 15th, 2020. I really do appreciate everybody here. We had up to 20 viewers at one point during our 2.5-hour stream. Every week, we are getting a bigger and bigger group of folks together, and I'm just having so much fun with the guys. These 3 guys are on pretty much every week, barring life circumstances. We also have Paulie from Latino Slant, of course, who's just a great content creator. Matt from Foulball Productions has started a guest when he can pop in, and we're looking to just keep building and having more fun and enjoying our fandom. It is definitely cool to have at least one of our fandoms where it feels like there's hope, and that is not a bad place to be. And so please do remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below, because by God, that's what helps us newer creators like ourselves on YouTube beat out against the Disneys and the CBSs of the world. Thank you, everybody, for coming in today, and we sure do appreciate it. Everybody have a good evening, and I will probably catch y'all in the chat of the Inquisition.